Alright, so as she said, my name is Patrick, for those of you that don't know, and I'm a student at Kennesaw Mountain High School. I am in the 11th grade there, and Zach asked me earlier today if I'd be willing to speak tonight, and I said sure, and so I have the honor of speaking here tonight, and I'm super excited. I'm going to jump right in and tell you guys a story. So, how many of you guys have been on a road trip? Well, I have a love-hate relationship with road trips. I've been on two. Both were out to Oklahoma to visit my great-grandparents. And every time we've gone, we've spent a long time in the car. Well, this time, we spent 42 hours in the car, which is a very, very long time. Well, on the way home from Oklahoma, instead of going straight across, which would have been the faster route, which would have taken way less time, we decided that we were going to go up and hit as many states as possible. So we hit 10 states, which is crazy, across 9 days. And we stopped in St. Louis. You guys know what the St. Louis Arch is? So it's this massive metal arch in the sky, and it's really cool. It's 630 feet tall. So we went to go visit this and go check out this national landmark. We're like, this is going to be awesome. We're going to see this giant arch. And then, so we get there, and it's Father's Day weekend, and so apparently everyone and their brother decided that they were going to be there for Father's Day weekend. So there's thousands of people at this arch. Well, apparently the max capacity of the top is 250. So we're standing in line in this crowded little, it looks like a subway station, and there's this long line. We stand in it, we finally get to the front, and we're about to go ask the guy how much tickets are, and he's like, by the way, the wait's 6 hours. Which is a little bit long considering we were hoping to get home pretty soon, because we've been on the road for about 40 hours at this point, so it's getting a little long. Well, me and my mom and my sister are like, it's not worth it. It's not, well, it's Father's Day weekend. And my dad goes, I remember going to the arch as a child, and I really want to go again. I mean, I remember it as a child, and it was so cool. So we've got this expectation, all right, it's going to be worth it. It's 6 hours. We're a little bit hesitant, but we'll go anyway. So we decide to buy the tickets. We go to lunch, and then he's like, oh, and they have this awesome movie about how the arch was built. And so, like, how many of you guys have seen those cool IMAX documentaries? Like, and they're really cool to watch. Sometimes they're in 3D. They've got, like, the surround sound, the massive screen, and it's, like, the coolest thing ever. And it's, like, the only time that documentaries are cool, and you have a guy like Morgan Freeman narrating it. And so it's really awesome. Well, that wasn't this. This was like, my dad leans over to me when the film starts, and he goes, I'm so sorry, this is the same film I watched as a child. That was 20 years ago. And so I was like, great. So we sit there, and it's kind of cool, but it's not worth the wait still. And then they're like, all right, time for passes 6B, and we're like, sweet, we're ready to go. And so we get in line. Well, this line, we waited 6 hours to get in. We had to wait another hour and a half to get to the front of it. And then you get to the front of it, and they've got a door that's about this tall. And then they've got these pods that are about this tall. And so me, my dad, my sister, and my mom cram into this tiny little pod. And then, like, it looks like it's gonna be like a fast way up. It was like 30 minutes. And it's still the same technology. So whenever you get in it, like, it didn't have like a stabilizer thing to keep it even. It would start to go up, and then when it would get tilted going up, it'd go tick, 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 tick. The entire way up, and my sister's terrified of heights. So she's like in the corner like, please let us be to the top, please let us be to the top. And then so we're like, and we're crammed in this tiny space, everybody's getting claustrophobic, it's getting hot, when we get to the top, and I was like, finally. We waited in line for 7.5 hours. We've been crammed in this tiny little pod. We watched a terrible documentary. And at this point, we're like, yes, we're going to get to see 630 feet in the air. And then the doors open, and we walk up this staircase. And there's a room probably about half the size of this stage with 250 people in it. And then on top of that, the windows, if you've never been to the St. Louis Arch, are 8 inches wide and 2 inches tall. And there's 8 of them on each wall. And there's 250 people. It was like a mosh pit. Like, you're in there with your elbows like, I'm gonna get the window, And so people are like hitting each other. My sister was like in the corner like, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. And then so, like we've been there for like probably 10 hours at this point. and we finally get down. And then we got fudge and left. Well, the reason I tell you all this is because the first point I want to hit is when expectation doesn't meet experience, we typically don't want to go back. And so, like, that's one thing I said afterwards was my dad was like, see, wasn't that worth it? And I said, I'm never, ever putting my kids through this. That was a terrible experience. I'm never doing that again. Like, ever. And so, but the point was, when expectation doesn't meet experience, we don't want to go back. But that's how we can be as Christians sometimes, is a lot of times we become like these cute Christians, and we talk about love, and we talk about all these, like, we talk how we're going to love people, and we're going to go out, and we're going to change the world and stuff, but sometimes it's all talk, and we don't walk the walk that we're talking, and then so we don't really put our money where our mouth is. And so the one thing that I want to hit today is, like, what does love look like? And this was a problem that they've had for thousands of years, and in fact, John has the same problem. And in 1 John, he's talking about this, and as Christians, we've experienced this incredible love, and we've received this incredible love. But we fail to live a life that reflects that love sometimes. And people couldn't figure out, and so they were asking John, how do I love someone? And this is how John responds. He says, this is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ. Now let me stop there, because that's such a big thing right there. He doesn't say, well, you got to do this first, you got to do this first, you got to do this first. He says, he points at Jesus, and he says, Jesus Christ, because really, God is love. And so the best way we can model love is by following Jesus, because if we live how he lived, that is the perfect example of love. Well, he continues and says, Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. If anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need, but has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with action and in truth. Now, I want to give you guys an example of this. How many of you guys have ever played Monopoly? Well, we have about 5 Monopoly sets in our basement. We've got the Star Wars version, the Here and Now version, the Disney World version. We've got a Latvian version that my parents picked up in Latvia. Can't read it. And then we've got the classic American version. Well, I've never played Monopoly. It's forbidden in my house. Because at some point before I was allowed to play board games. So this is really young. This is like old. So like, my parents apparently used to play Monopoly. And my mom, she, like, in terms of real money, handles the finances in our family. So she's like, oh, I'll make a great banker. Well, my mom was always the banker, apparently, according to my dad. He's not very pleased about this idea. And so he's like, she's always the banker, and she always has way more money than me. And I'm like, well, maybe it's because you don't manage your money while you're playing this game. And he's like, no, it's because she cheats. She pulls money out of the bank, and she puts it in her stack. And so that's why she always wins. She always beats me. And so, like, I've never played Monopoly because of that. Because if we ever, like, we're like, hey, let's play Monopoly. He's like, no. Because she'll cheat and put all the money in her stack. And so we're not allowed to play it. But at the end of the day, the money you get and give in Monopoly, it's not worth anything. It's counterfeit. I mean, so it's like, if I took this money, all this Monopoly money right here, and I were to walk into Walmart, and I got all my groceries, or I got like a Nerf gun or a video game, it's like, hey, I'd like to give you like 10,000 Monopoly dollars. It's useless, because it's fake money. And so, I mean, now I want to give you an example. That's counterfeit money versus real money. Now, counterfeit love looks like this. Like, for instance, when you say, I'll pray for you, and then you don't. Or when somebody tells you something in secret, and you go back behind their back and talk about them. Or when you see somebody being bullied, or you see somebody sitting by themselves at the table, and you look and go, aw, and then you go back to eating your lunch. Because that's counterfeit love. I mean, we talk this talk and we're like, oh yeah, we're going to go change the world. It's going to be awesome. But then the question is, do our actions reflect that? And then so the second point I want to hit is the authenticity you give will determine the value they receive. So authentic love is love in action. What they will receive will be authentic, real love, if that's what you give. But if you give fake love, it's like trying to check out with Monopoly money. It's worthless. And so, probably one of the coolest things ever is, God gave us the perfect example because he put his money where his mouth is. He talks all in the Bible. He says, I love you guys, I love you guys, I love you guys, I love you guys. And then the Bible says, for God so loved the world that he sent his one and only son, so that way for whoever believes in him will not perish but have eternal life. Now, that's how much he loved us, was when we were dead in sin, he sent his son for us. And so that was like the ultimate example of love. And so that's kind of how we should be, is we give love, real, genuine, authentic love, because God gave us the perfect example of that. And so I think it's really time that we stopped offering counterfeit and started showing love like Christ to our family and our friends and our classmates. Instead of ignoring the bully, you take a stand. Or instead of seeing the kid that walks by himself and kind of struggles and he's kind of like this and he doesn't really want to talk to anybody, you could maybe go talk to him and be like, hey man, what's your name? And what if you stopped promising to do your chores and actually did them, and maybe did a little bit more, maybe sweep the floor because mom's kind of like that. And what if we stopped giving people what's easy and started giving them what's valuable? My parents did a really good job modeling this when I was younger. We were in Columbus, that's my hometown, and I really love it. They've got these beautiful brick roads, and it's right along a river, and they've got whitewater rafting in it, and they make the best root beer ever. They brew it down there, and it's so good. Well, we're down there, I can't remember, I know we visit my grandparents every time we go down there. Well, we're driving down the road, and there's a guy on the side of the road, and it's not wintertime. So you can tell the stuff he's wearing, the reason he's wearing it is because he doesn't have a home. So he has to carry it on him. So he's got these gloves on, fingerless gloves, he's got a big jacket, he's got I think it's called a toboggan. And he's walking down the road, and you can tell people when they see him, they do this whole thing. They don't want to acknowledge that he's there. Well, at that moment, my dad had three options. He could do this whole thing and pretend like he's not there. Or some people do this when they see, for instance, homeless people, and they go, well, they got themselves in that situation. I don't have to help them. And then kind of how I want to put it, if you're one of the people that think like that, is what if Jesus said that? They got themselves in that situation. They sinned. That's their fault. That's their problem. But he didn't do that. He said, despite that, I'm going to love them anyway. And then there's the third option, which you can help them. Which this guy, which showed you that his situation was so bad, was he's over at a trash can, and he's digging in it. Not because he was trying to find stuff to sell or something, but because he was looking for scraps to eat. Because that's how much he was lacking. What he needed was because he was digging in trashes, trying to find food. And so my dad modeled really love for me at that time, and he pulled over, and he walked over to the guy, and he's like, hey man, can I get you some food? And this guy was appalled by this. He's like, excuse me? He couldn't believe it, that somebody had offered him food. I mean, as many Christians as there are in the United States, that's kind of scary to think that nobody's, all those people that walk by like this, and didn't offer this guy food when he's digging in trash cans. And then so we bought him a meal, and we got him, he really liked Mountain Dew apparently, so we bought him 2 liters of Mountain Dew, which he was very happy about. And then we went on our way, which I had the ability later, from my dad's example of that, to do that in my own life. Across the street at the Walmart, there was this family, and there's a guy, a Latino guy holding a sign, and there's this lady, and she's holding a baby, and there's a 4-year-old sitting next to her. And he's got a sign that says, I'll take any job, we need food. And at that moment, I could make one of those 3 decisions that my dad had. I could have done what I watched countless other people do at that Walmart parking lot and just drive by. Or I could have said, well, you shouldn't be in that situation. You probably got yourself there. But I looked over at my sister and I was like, let's go do something. So we went in and we bought a lot of bread and jelly and peanut butter, and we got them peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And the reason I tell you that is not to make myself look better or anything, but it's just to say, what if I would have just talked about them here and said, oh, how sad? What if we just talked about how unfair it was that people got bullied? Or what if we just talked about the kids sitting by themselves at lunch? When talking doesn't leave the impact that actions do. Because words without actions are empty. Words followed up by actions is love. And love is the game changer. So the point I want to end with is, what you do will always speak louder than what you say. And I believe that this is a student movement that will be known by its actions and not just its words. By what we give and not just what we offer. What we offer, not just what we take. And then I think when we learn to love like Jesus did, then that's what really becomes the game changer. And so I just want to end with this challenge. What can you do tomorrow in school to show someone else love? And will you do it? All right, I'm going to close in prayer. Lord, thank you.